Welcome to Unleash Curiosity by Vital Pet Life.
I'm Dr. Amber De Silva, veterinarian and advocate for integrative pet care.
And I'm Donie Yamamoto, founder and CEO of Vital Pet Life. We're so glad you're here.
This is a space where curiosity, compassion, and science converge, where we explore the powerful mind-body connection that supports your pet's health and your own.
Each week, we'll dive deep into the world of pet wellness, breaking down myths, exploring ingredients, and learning from expert voices across the industry.
From nutrition and sustainability to transparency and advocacy, we're here to help you feel more confident, connected, and informed in your care choices.
So let's get into it, because when we know better, we do better. This is Unleash Curiosity.
Happy Pet Wellness Month. Think of this as a fresh start for our furry friends, because wellness isn't just for humans. Welcome back to Unleash Curiosity. I'm Donie Yamamoto, CEO and founder of Vital Pet Life.
I'm Dr. Amber De Silva, DVM. It's Pet Wellness Month. Today we're going to talk about some ways to boost your pet's wellness. Let's get into it.
What does pet wellness really mean beyond just going to the vet?
Yeah, the thing that I think about with pet wellness is a healthy lifestyle. So we're giving them good quality food, we're giving them good quality supplements, they're exercising, they have plenty of socialization and training and human interaction. So just overall, lead like a good lifestyle that leads to a good quality of life.
So in our previous episode, we talked about spaying and neutering. But Dr. Amber, what are your post-birth care tips? Is there any possibility of ovarian cysts in dogs after giving birth? Or how can pet parents prepare for this to prevent it early on?
Yeah, so after birth, you just want to make sure, they're going to be kind of having some discharge for a while afterwards. You want to make sure that all of the mammaries are looking okay, that the puppies are eating. And then as far as ovarian cysts, I've never actually diagnosed those. They can certainly happen. And usually what the symptoms of that are going to look like is just like a continued heat cycle that doesn't stop.
Mm.
Now, one thing that is more common is a pyometra. So that's an infection in the uterus. That can lead to a life-threatening infection in there that usually requires surgery to remove the uterus. So a spay, an emergency spay. And so, any kind of change in attitude, they're laying around, they don't have energy, they stop eating, they've got a lot of discharge. Even without discharge, if you see those other symptoms, then you want to take them to the veterinarian, because you can have an open pyometra where they're going to have discharge. But you can have a closed pyometra too, where the uterus is filling up inside, but you're not seeing anything come out because that cervix is closed and it's holding it into the uterus. So any signs of illness, especially after birth or after a heat cycle, you want to take them into the vet. And usually that's, with the pyometra, sometimes depending on the size of the uterus, when you catch it, you can sometimes see it on an x-ray. Actually, you can see those loops of uterus on the x-ray. Sometimes it requires an ultrasound to actually take a look inside with the ultrasound, look at the ovaries, look at the uterus, and see if there's any abnormalities there.
Thank you for that, Dr. Amber. Okay, what about the role of exercises play in overall wellness, like especially for pets in smaller spaces, like, if you live in an apartment and you don't have a yard, what does it really play in the overall wellness of an animal?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I think, exercise is so, so important, not only to keep your pets at a healthy weight, but to, keep their muscle mass strong. Some of it plays into training and socialization too, walking them. And especially if you don't have a yard where they can go out and run, walking a couple times a day at least would be really important. Maybe taking them to the dog park, chasing a ball, chasing a frisbee. And one thing that we want to be mindful of is the type of pet we get in the place that we live. So, maybe it wouldn't be a great idea to have a Great Dane if you live in an apartment. You kind of got to think about the lifestyle of the pet and the space that you have. Or also, if you like to be a couch potato like I do on the weekends, and you have like a healer or something, that wants to be running all day and they need a job and they need to be super active, then maybe that wouldn't be like a super good fit. So all of those things are just something to consider when you're trying to find that perfect pet for you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, can you share some preventive care tips that could save pets from more serious health issues later on? How can pet parents recognize early signs that their dog or cat might not feel their best?
Yeah, that's a good question, but super broad. So I'm going to try to, I'll try to answer it the best I can.
Yeah.
So, one thing in my mind that's really, really important is a healthy diet. And so you want to make sure you're feeding a high quality diet, and you want to make sure that you're measuring it out. We really, really want to pay attention to their weight. So we're feeding a high quality diet. We're feeding the appropriate amount. We're giving them the exercise that they need so that they can stay at a healthy weight and stay as healthy as possible. So how to recognize early signs. Sometimes it'll be just as subtle as, gosh, their coat used to be really shiny. Now it's kind of dull. Or maybe, they used to just devour their food and now they're kind of slowing down and they're picking at it. Maybe they're acting a little more anxious or a little more clingy. Some of those things can be like really early signs that there's something that's going on. And then, obviously anything that's super obvious, like vomiting, diarrhea, really poor energy, anything like that, obviously you want to take him to the vet and see what's going on.
Yeah, I think also like anything that's out of the ordinary, like you know your animals best. So if you get to see some changes in their behavior, I think that's the most important
For sure. Yep.
signs.
Yeah. If they're just doing something that's like, that they don't
Yes.
usually do
Yeah.
that. Or for cats, it might be, um, they just want to stay in one room. They're not really going up and down the stairs, or, they kind of just find a place to hunker down and they're not as active. Yeah, so it can be pretty subtle, but those behavioral changes are something that's really important for owners to pay attention to, because obviously, you take them into the vet and we can we can only know them in that time that they're in the clinic. But someone,
And also vets need to know what happened before and what
Mhm.
led you to I
Yeah,
think it's important. Although this month is Pet Wellness Month, sometimes as pet parents, our wellness has a bigger advantage when our pets are on our side. There's an article that says that owning a dog or cat, maybe animal, could preserve some brain functions as we age. What's your take on it, Dr. Amber?
yeah, I think that's probably an ongoing area of research. But I definitely think that having a furry companion or some kind of pet increases quality of life. It increases people's interaction with their surroundings, memory, that type of thing. And so I think it's, really beneficial for lots of different people. I think back to my great grandma. She passed away when I was in elementary school, but the last time I saw her, she was in a nursing home. We visited her. And she had forgotten a lot of her family members. Like, I don't think she really knew who we were, unfortunately, but she remembered her little dog, Peppy. Like, she remembered her
Aw.
little white poodle. And I just thought that was so precious, that she, even though she had forgotten a lot of people and things that happened in her life, she still had really good memories of her little poodle.
Forget my dogs or animals. Never. So sweet. Okay, what do you think about pet supplements and when do pets actually need them?
That is a great question. So I I think that supplements are important. I think that, even if we're feeding a healthy diet, sometimes if we're feeding a high quality, well balanced diet, that should give them all of the nutrition that they need. But sometimes for certain conditions, they just don't get enough of like omegas in their diets. And some diets are more supplemented with that than other diets. One of the problems you have with that, though, is that you can't quite get it to a high enough dose. Like you'd have to, give so much kibble if it's supplemented with some kind of nutrient that you're giving him way too many calories. So, all of that to say, I think supplements are important for lots of conditions. And even with a healthy, well balanced diet, sometimes we can't give enough of that diet to get the supplements to a level that we need, if that makes sense. And so that's why we would recommend, give them probiotics, give them fish oil, that type of thing, so that
Mm-hmm.
we're actually we know that we're giving them a high enough dose to make a difference.
Yeah. Okay, what are some simple at home wellness checks every pet parent can do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, like we talked about in one of our previous questions, definitely behavior, attitude, appetite, that type of thing. And then, um, we had a recent podcast. We talked about hydration. So you can, tent up the skin on the back of the neck. You can touch the gums, look at the color of the gums. Notice, if their eyes are droopy and they're not as pink around, just like underneath the eyelids. Those are some pretty simple things that you can do to just to keep a check on your pet. And one thing, I mean, I am a veterinarian, so I'm not squeamish about stuff, but like I would actually, when my dog was outside, like sometimes I'd peek out there and I'd watch him do his business. Like, is he having diarrhea?
Yeah,
Or his
that's a good
stool's
one.
normal, or when you're cleaning it up, like, oh, he ate crayons again, so just that day-to-day stuff, like you can keep an eye on that and notice, so that makes it easier to notice any kind of changes.
Yeah, and I think what's this like that question or your answer it ties to my next question. If pet parents could do just one thing this month to improve their pet wellness, I feel like checking the poop is also good, but
Yeah.
what would be one thing that you and why do you recommend it?
Oh gosh, that
Alone?
that is a hard question.
Maybe hugging them or exercise.
For sure. I think, gosh, the number one thing, and I've hit it, I've already said it, but I think giving a high quality diet. Like, I think that is so, so important. And it's really easy to get confused about, when you're in the store and you're looking at all the different brands and the marketing and the labels. And so go back and check out our episode about reading pet food labels. But I think, good nutrition is really, really the cornerstone of just the foundation of a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And of course, supplements. I mean, I know I'm biased because I work at BioPet Life, but I think like the salmon oil, the fish oil can just improve so many different aspects of health. That would be right up there.
Yeah. Well, my takeaway for this conversation, Dr. Amber, is that, pet wellness, um, start, there's a lot of like layers to it. I feel like, as your pet are well, it also correlates to your wellness. So anyway,
For
but
sure.
yeah, to me, my takeaway is like, having good exercise. It starts with healthier relationship at home and with you and your animal. And then at the same time, like, reading the labels again, like giving them nutritional food. It doesn't need to be the most expensive one, but you just have to research, like, if this is what your animal needs. And again, supplements, like I know it's cliche, but yeah, I think having a good supplementation and knowing, if it's a trusted company. I mean, I'm not saying that all are trusted, but again, knowing what the ingredients are and, what your animal needs, like it's very important.
Yeah. Yeah. And my takeaway is that, obviously, because I'm a veterinarian and I love animals, it's super important that they have consistent vet care. But you might only see your vet once or twice a year if you're, if everything's healthy and you don't need to go in more than that, then that's great. But you're with your pet every single day. And so those things that we've talked about at home are super important just to maintain good health. So diet, exercise, good quality supplements, and lots of love.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Don't forget to click the follow button so you'll be notified about our new weekly episodes.
This is Dr. Amber. Thanks again for listening. We'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know if you have any questions about this episode, and we'll answer them in an upcoming episode. Email us at podcast@vitalpetlife.com.